So we move right along to the next one. We're going to have another adventure with Dipnarine with critical thinking. Over to you, Dipnarine.
So I will be looking at the third C, critical thinking. And just to get our critical thinking juices flowing, I have a little challenge for us to engage ourselves in this afternoon. Great. So was anybody able to figure out which one of the doors should you proceed through? So I'm seeing Pooja saying one, I'm seeing Roseanne saying two, I'm seeing Zabine saying number three, and I'm getting some justifications in terms of which one of the doors you would have chosen. So for those who would have chosen door number three, one of the reasoning behind choosing number three would have been looking at the resources available, which in this case would have been the candle, and then bringing that candle up to each door's keyhole. And if the flame moves, then there's a tunnel behind the door, which means that it would not have been blocked by the brick wall. So what do you think would have been some of those skills that you would have used in that room in order to escape? A few persons would have guessed the door number three as the door to exit from. Right, I'm just looking at the chat, knocking the door. If there's an echo, it's the right door. Right. So what does this have to do with critical thinking? So one, we would have looked at the resources that are available, and then based on our observations, our experiences, right, we will be able to guide ourselves into choosing a correct door. So critical thinking is basically that intellectual discipline process of actively and skillfully conceptualizing, applying, analyzing, synthesizing, and or evaluating information gathered from or generated by observation, experience, reflection, reasoning, or communication as a guide to the belief and action. So what are some of the skills and the characteristics that critical thinking and critical thinkers possess? According to Paul Elder, 2013, people who possess critical thinking skills raise important questions and problems, expressing them with clarity and precision, collect and evaluate information that is relevant to the situation, interpret information effectively, come to well-reasoned conclusions and solutions, contrast the solution against relevant criteria and standards, think open-mindedly. 7, recognize and assess the assumptions, implications, and practical consequences. And number 8, communicate effectively with others in figuring out solutions to complex problems. Did you use any of these skills in coming up with a determination in terms of the doors that you would have chosen to exit? So looking at the feedback from the poll that was conducted earlier, we are seeing that we have 75% of our attendees as being students, and we had 16% being teachers. So for the teachers out there, are you familiar with Bloom's taxonomy? So Bloom's taxonomy is basically a tool that can be used and it describes the different levels of thinking. And again, remember what we are speaking about this afternoon is thinking, thinking critically in order to come to some type of judgment at the end of the day. It helps educators develop critical thinking and higher order cognitive abilities in their students. And again, we have 75% of our attendees being students. So So we will look at very shortly an example of where we utilize critical thinking in our everyday lives. Critical thinking basically integrates these two components from Bloom. One, the lower order thinking skills, which is the ability to generate information, and two, your higher order thinking skills. I'm using those skills to basically guide behavior. Thinking critically about a set of facts or other information to make an informed decision requires that the thinker goes through all 6 cognitive levels as defined by Bloom. So for our teachers there, how do we actually engage our students in the classroom to think critically? At the first level of Bloom, we have knowledge, which talks about the identification and the recall of information. Some verbs we use in our questions may be defining, listing, identifying, labeling, naming, and recalling. But when we construct questions for our students, we can use these guiding questions so as to encourage them to think critically. So who, what, where, when, how, and describe. Comprehension is the organization and the selection of facts and ideas. We use verbs like convert, describe, explain, restate, retell. And our questions can be worded in a way that again encourages our students to think critically. Retell in your own words. What is the main idea of? What differences exist between? Next level of Bloom is application, the use of facts, rules, and principles. Our verbs may be apply, compute, demonstrate, determine, and some of our guiding questions may be how is an example of, how is something related to the next, and do you know another instance where something can be used? The fourth level, analysis, is the separation of the whole into components. The verbs like analyze, categorize, contrast, differentiate. And again, wording our questions for our students to think critically. What are the features of? How do you compare and contrast with? Our fifth level, synthesis, combining ideas to form a new whole. Verbs we use in the classroom can be change, combine, compose. But when we want our students to think critically, we structure our questions such as, what would you predict or infer from? What solutions would you suggest for? And again, remember, we want our students to be able to be critical thinkers, to be problem solvers. And our very last level of Bloom, evaluation, and this basically talks about developing opinions, judgments, or decisions. Verbs we use such as appraise, choose, decide, judge, rate, and select. And our guiding questions in the classroom can be, do you agree with? And explain, how would you decide about, etc. So at this point, I'm going to give you the opportunity to actually think critically about a situation. And my colleagues will post a couple links that we will be utilizing in order to submit your answers. So let's look at our second activity. Right, so the world is counting on you. How would you escape? So 3 links have been placed into the chat, a student link, a teacher link, and a parent link. And each will take you to a tool called Padlet that allows collaboration, and it would allow us to view your submissions in terms of your answers. So at this point, we would like you to access those different categories and submit your answers. Right, so as you access Padlet, the question will also be posted on the Padlet and instructions of how do you post your answers onto the collaborative space. Right, so Ms. Singh will be looking at those answers on Padlet in our final segment, which would be collaboration. So to continue with my presentation, is anybody familiar with Minecraft? Yes, right, I'm seeing quite a few persons saying yes. Right, so Minecraft is one of those tools, online tools that facilitates this whole idea of critical thinking, specifically problem solving. So Minecraft education is an open world game that promotes problem solving, creativity, and collaboration in an immersive environment where the only limit is your imagination. So as an educator or even as a student, if you are looking for a tool that basically helps you in terms of critical thinking or developing your critical thinking skills, this is one of the options that is available to you. And what we're going to look at now is an example of a school in Northern Ireland that is currently using Minecraft as part of their curriculum.
We've been really excited when Minecraft Education Edition came on the scene because it meant that in the classroom all the children could join the world and they could develop those essential learning skills like collaboration, creativity, critical thinking and problem solving.
Teachers and learners have told us about the development of 21st century skills, about the positive impact on both literacy and numeracy skills. When children enjoy what they're doing and are engaged, the barriers to learning are removed.
I developed my skills of communication. Instead of just being quiet and doing it by myself, I communicated with everybody around my table and my team.
I absolutely love it whenever the children are engaged and having fun because they're learning and they don't even realize it. They're playing and they're learning and they're extending their knowledge, and it's all in that sandbox environment of Minecraft. They're probably going home and telling their parents that they're playing, but the skills that they learn and the knowledge that they develop is key.
Right, so I'm glad that quite a few of us know about Minecraft and the benefits of utilizing Minecraft in the classroom. But another tool that we have available to us is a website called code.org. And again, remembering the theme of today's presentation, looking at those tools that facilitate or helps in terms of gaining these competencies. So code.org, and again, using the chat, you can say if you are familiar with code.org, is a non-profit dedicated to expanding access to computer science in schools and increasing participation by young women and students from other unrepresented groups. It uses problem solving and creativity to explore, build, and address problems. This is an example of code.org and some of the founders of code.org and the benefits of utilizing problem solving in the classroom to facilitate critical thinking.
I was 13 when I first got access to a computer.
My parents bought me a Macintosh in 1984 when I was 8 years old.
I was in 6th grade.
I learned to code in college.
Freshman year, first semester, intro to computer science.
I wrote a program to play tic-tac-toe.
I think it was pretty humble beginnings. I think the first program I wrote asked things like, what's your favorite color? Or how old are you?
I first learned how to make a green circle and a red square appear on the screen.
The first time I actually had something come up and say, hello world, and I made a computer do that. It was just astonishing.
Learning how to program didn't start off as wanting to learn all of computer science or trying to master this discipline or anything like that. It just started off because I wanted to do this one simple thing. I wanted to make something that was fun for myself and my sisters. And I wrote this little program and then basically just add a little bit to it. And then when I needed to learn something new, I looked it up either in a book or on the internet and then added a little bit to it.
You don't have to be a genius to know how to code. You need to be determined.
Addition, subtraction, that's about it.
You should probably know your multiplication tables.
You don't have to be a genius to code. Do you have to be a genius to read?
Even if you want to become a race car driver or play baseball, or build a house. All of these things have been turned upside down by software.
What it is, computers are everywhere. You want to work in agriculture? Do you want to work in entertainment? Do you want to work in manufacturing? It's just all over.
If you're trying to make a lot of money or whether you just want to change the world, computer programming is an incredibly empowering skill to learn.
I think if someone had told me that software is really about humanity, that it's really about helping people by using computer technology, it would have changed my outlook a lot earlier.
To be able to actually come up with an idea and then see it in your hands and then be able to press a button and have it be in millions of people's hands. I mean, I think we're the first generation in the world that's really ever had that kind of experience.
Just to think that, I mean, you can start something in your college dorm room and you can have a set of people who haven't built a big company before come together and build something that 1 billion people use as part of their daily lives is just crazy to think about, right? It's humbling and it's amazing.
The programmers of tomorrow are the wizards of the future. You know, you're going to look like you have magic powers compared to everybody else.
I think it's amazing. I think it's the closest thing we have to a superpower.
Great coders are today's rock stars. That's it.
So with those closing words, I would like to say thank you for the opportunity to present on critical thinking. And I encourage the teachers there that we have with us this afternoon, and even the students, to start looking at problems and seeing the solutions that you can develop as a person to solve some of these problems that we face today, and by extension, some of those problems that we may face in the future. So thank you. Back to you, Dr. K.